When you hear the word warfare, what comes to mind? You're probably picturing claws, teeth, maybe even armies, right? But what if I told you that the oldest, most brutal conflict on Earth is completely invisible? It's a war fought with molecules and toxins in places so extreme they would kill you in a heartbeat. So let's dive into nature's oldest battle.
No, really, this isn't some kind of metaphor. We're talking about a real war that's been raging for billions of years, long before the first animal ever walked the Earth. It has shaped life in the most extreme corners of our planet, a constant, silent arms race fought with poisons and chemical shields.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, biological chemical warfare is how life fights back against a hostile world. It's about using biochemistry not just to live, but to attack, to defend territory, and to carve out a home where, by all logic, absolutely nothing should be able to survive.
To really see this in action, our first stop has to be one of the most hostile places imaginable. We're going to the deep ocean floor, right next to underwater volcanoes called hydrothermal vents. Now, this isn't just hot water. It's a chemical soup laced with poisons like hydrogen sulfide, that rotten egg smell, and a ton of heavy metals. All of this is happening at pressures that would turn a submarine into a tin can. It's basically a natural chemical weapons factory.
And get this, the water blasting out of these vents is 350 degrees Celsius. That is over 3 times the boiling point of water. Any normal organic life that touches this stuff should be instantly obliterated.
And yet, something lives so close to this inferno that the temperature on its own back can hit 80 degrees Celsius. That's about 176 Fahrenheit. This makes it one of the most heat-tolerant animals ever found. The question isn't just what lives here, it's how on earth is that possible?
So what kind of creature could possibly call this toxic, scalding hot environment home? Well, the answer is a true champion of biochemical defense, the Pompeii worm.
The Pompeii worm's secret is a brilliant alliance. See, it doesn't fight this chemical war on its own. It actually cultivates a thick, fleece-like coat of bacteria all over its back. The worm secretes a mucus to feed the bacteria, and in return, this living shield goes to work, neutralizing the poisons and grabbing onto the heavy metals before they can ever harm the worm. It's not just armor, it's a living, breathing chemical defense system.
Okay, but this chemical war isn't just happening in the crushing depths of the ocean. It's raging right here on land too, in the murky, quiet waters of mangrove swamps.
In these swamps, all the rotting leaves and wood release huge amounts of ammonia into the water. For most fish, ammonia is a deadly nerve toxin that just wrecks their cells. The water here is basically toxic sludge.
And yet, the mangrove killifish just hangs out in there, like it's no big deal. This little guy can withstand ammonia levels 50 times higher than what would kill most other fish. It's a biochemical contortionist, basically twisting its own internal chemistry to turn that deadly poison into harmless waste products.
Now, this brings up 2 very different strategies for survival. On one hand, you have the killifish, which is a defender. It takes the toxic ammonia and neutralizes it inside its own body. But then you have another swamp dweller, the poison frog, which is an attacker. It doesn't just neutralize toxins, it collects them from the ants and mites it eats and then weaponizes them, loading up its skin to become a walking biochemical fortress.
So you might be wondering, how does the frog not poison itself? Well, it's all down to a tiny, brilliant genetic mutation. Its toxin works by locking onto nerve cells and forcing them to fire until they cause paralysis. But the frog's own nerve cells have a slightly different shape, so the toxin literally can't latch on. The frog has evolved a perfect defense against its own deadly weapon.
But believe it or not, the strategies get even more sophisticated. Now we're going to look at the organisms that are the absolute masters of surviving chemical chaos, both outside and inside their own bodies.
Take the fire ant. Its underground colony is a constant chemical war zone. The ants have their venom, sure, but they're also under constant attack from deadly fungi in the soil. Their solution? They farm their own special bacteria that produce antibiotics, using these microbes as a collective immune system to keep their entire colony safe.
But if there is one undefeated champion of survival, the master of enduring any chemical apocalypse you could possibly imagine, it's this microscopic marvel, the tardigrade, also known as the water bear.
The tardigrade's primary strategy is to basically just hit the pause button on life. When things get really bad, whether it's total dehydration, freezing cold, or intense radiation, it enters a state called cryptobiosis. It shuts down its metabolism almost completely, becoming a tiny, indestructible particle until conditions get better. But its real secret weapon is at the molecular level.
Tardigrades produce this incredible, unique protein nicknamed DSUP, which stands for damage suppressor. This protein physically wraps around the tardigrade's DNA, forming a molecular shield that protects its genetic code from being shattered by radiation or torn apart by destructive chemicals. It's amazing.
So, from the Pompeii worm's bacterial shield to the tardigrade's personal DNA armor, these survivors are so much more than just biological curiosities. They completely reshape our understanding of what life is truly capable of.
So what's the big takeaway here? First, it shows us that life's biochemical toolkit is just staggering, way more creative than we ever imagined. Second, these so-called hostile environments, they're actually incredible engines for evolution. A lethal poison for one species is a golden opportunity for another. And, this fundamentally changes how we should be looking for life out there in the universe.
And that leaves us with one final, kind of mind-blowing thought. If life can thrive next to underwater volcanoes and ammonia sludge and survive the vacuum of space right here on Earth, it forces us to ask, what other incredible forms of biochemistry might have evolved in the chemical war zones on other worlds? The possibilities are, well, astronomical.